20 hostages are released. Hamas released 20 hostages held in Gaza on Monday, while Israel began releasing hundreds of Palestinian prisoners as part of a ceasefire pausing 2 years of the war that pummeled the territory, killed tens of thousands of Palestinians, and left scores of captives in militant hands. Cheering crowds greeted buses of prisoners in the West Bank, while families and friends of the hostages gathered in a cried out of joy and relief as news arrived that the captives were free. The hostages, all men, have arrived back in Israel, where they will reunite with family and undergo medical checks. The bodies of the remaining 28 hostages are also expected to be handed over as part of the deal, although the exact timing remains unclear. Buses carrying dozens of freed Palestinian prisoners arrived in Beitunia, near the West Bank city of Ramallah. And in the Gaza Strip, the Hamas-run prisoners' office said, while major questions remain about the future of Hamas and Gaza, the exchange of hostages and prisoners raised hopes for ending the deadliest war ever. While major questions remain about the future of Hamas and Gaza, the exchange of hostages and prisoners raised hopes for ending the deadliest war ever between Israel and the militant group. The ceasefire is also expected to be accompanied by the surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza, parts of which are experiencing famine. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged that he was committed to this peace in a speech to the Israeli parliament. The war began when Hamas-led militants launched a surprise attack on southern Israel on 7 October 2023, in which some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, were killed and 251 taken hostage. In Israel's ensuing offensive, more than 65,000 Palestinians have been killed, according to Gaza's health ministry, which doesn't differentiate between civilians and combatants, but says around half the dead were women and children. The toll is expected to grow as bodies are pulled from rubble previously made inaccessible by fighting. The war has destroyed large swaths of Gaza and displaced about 90% of its some 2 million residents. It has also triggered other conflicts in the region, sparked worldwide protests, and led to accusation of genocide that Israel denies. Much of Gaza is a wasteland, UN Humanitarian Chief Tom Fletcher told the AP on Sunday. In Tel Aviv, families and friends of the hostages who gathered in a square broke into wild cheers as Israeli television channels announced that the first group of hostages was in the hands of the Red Cross. Tens of thousands of Israelis watched the transfers at public screenings across the country. Israel released the first photos of the freed hostages, including one showing 28-year-old twins Gali and Jeev Berman embracing as they were reunited. Hostages previously released has said the twins from Kfar Aza were held separate. The photos of the first 7 hostages showed them looking pale but less gaunt than some of the hostages freed in January. Meanwhile, the Hostages Family Forum, a grassroots organization representing many of the hostage families, said 4 bodies were expected to return to Israel on Monday. The group said it was shocked and dismayed that so few were coming back. An international task force will work to locate deceased hostages who are not returned within 72 hours, said Gal Hirsch, Israel's coordinator for the hostages and the missing. The prisoners being released include 250 people serving life sentences for convictions in attacks on Israelis, in addition to 1,700 seized from Gaza during the war and held without charge. They will be returned to the West Bank or Gaza or sent into exile. The return of the living hostages caps a painful chapter for Israel, since they were captured in the attack that ignited the war. Newscasts from marked their days in captivity, and Israelis have worn yellow pins and ribbons in solidarity. Tens of thousands have joined their families in weekly demonstrations calling for their release. As the war dragged on, demonstrators accused Netanyahu of dragging his feet for political purposes, even as he accused Hamas of intransigence. Last week, under heavy international pressure and increasing isolation for Israel, the bitter enemies agreed to the ceasefire.